You're listening to the Boston Greeks podcast with Ari and Foti. They've been bringing Greek culture online since 1998, and now they're bringing you the best Greek guests Boston has to offer. So grab your kafedaki and join us.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Boston Greeks podcast. I'm Ari, and we have an amazing show today. We have a true Greek among Greeks who is doing great things, a successful young man, handsome as heck, might I add. But before we bring him on, let me introduce my co-host, Foti Stamos. What's up, Foti?
That's so, Ari.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, especially with this upcoming episode with our special guest, who's not only a cool guest, but he's also a badass, because we kept using that word a little while ago, right?
Yeah, man, that's a good term right there, badass. I like it.
As we were having a little bit of our prep talk before the episode, we were talking about how, Boston has produced a lot of great Greeks who are doing a lot of amazing things that a lot of us are probably not familiar with. So, thanks to this podcast, we're able to bring some light to some of these great badasses. So having said that, let's bring on to the show our guest, who's a dear friend. We've been friends from back in the days during our Greek Boston days.
Out many moons ago, before I had all these grades.
But Nikitas, Tsoukales, welcome to the show, brother. It's a pleasure to have you, considering your busy, super busy schedule, because I don't know how you find the time to do everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Foti. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, this is. I was really pumped to just hang with you guys right now. I mean, and even the pre-show, I feel like I could hang out here all day. Like, we have Cavale. We have Calamburia, like we're just hitting everything right now.
It's such a treat to see, how we have all evolved as individuals and where we started and where we are today, right?
That's actually very interesting because, like, a lot of these faces, I know you guys have a little bit more of a history than I do with Nikita, but I do have a history which was more social when we'd see each other out, but it's like back then you'd see so many people out and then you see them as these like actual, like responsible adults with families and with successful businesses. And it's really cool to see this. And Nikita, you're 100% one of those guys. You're a great success in your field. You know what? Actually, why don't we get a little bit of a history? Why don't you tell us like kind of where you're from, a little bit of your background, and what kind of led you up to where you are?
Yeah, before I do that, if I may add on to what you just said, there seems to be a period where many of us growing up, hanging out in the clubs, the Greek Boston days, like a 10-year or 20-year span where people just didn't see each other. And then you see each other and you're like, whoa, what happened to that guy? He's a soccer dad. He's a professional. I have a Cubano that will consistently send me pictures of people he's rediscovered from his youth. And he will write in Greek, Re έγινε anthropos, or fill in the blank. And it's like once a month he sends me one of these characters. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Έγινε anthropos, or Nikitas. Maybe. I don't know. But the story goes, I'm not going to say I'm from Rosendale or West Roxbury. I'm going to say born and raised in Ayos Nectarios in Rosendale. I'd say that's our community. Raise the roof, and I'm a child of that community. I remember those days getting bused to the Matahan school because none of us knew how to speak English. So they used to send us to the Greek program at the Matahan school in Mattapan. And growing up around Boston, I spent my time behind the frylater, behind the grill, at my dad's drive-through window, like a lot of us in the Greek American community. I grew up with a dad that was an entrepreneur. My dad owned donut shops, pizza shops, car rental companies, all types of businesses. And in my family, no one really seemed to have jobs. They all seemed to own a business, and that's what you did. And I spent my early years in West Roxbury, and then we moved out to the burbs to Norwood, where I was like an alien. It was like a different world. And none of the teachers could pronounce my name, Nikitas Tsoukales. It was just, I knew when they were calling my name, roll call in the morning, when there would just be a moment of silence. I'd be like, yeah, I'm here. And
Nikita, let me just say that I grew up in Somerville, which was predominantly Irish, and my full name was Aristides Kalogeropoulos. So I know your pain when the teacher paused and the class started laughing because they all knew what was coming.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the listeners feel our pain. And for you, Foti, you got kind of an easy name, so I think you probably got away with it.
You would think that, Nikita, even though my last name is pretty easy, but believe it or not, my first name, or formerly it's Fotios, was the biggest challenge for all my teachers. So to your point, when the roll call came around, it wasn't my last name, it was my first name.
Oh man, that's rough. Like you...
So a little secret here for our listeners and for you guys. Obviously, you've already known this, but because they couldn't pronounce Fotios or Foti, 4 letters, they gave me the nickname of Frank.
Oh my God, I forgot you had that AKA.
Yeah.
You know what? You did a good job the last 20 years of reclaiming your Greek identity. Because I remember when you were Frank and Frankie and all these variations. Well, I'm glad you got away from that. I want you to know.
It's still a challenge.
I'm glad too, man, because I don't know why, but the name Frank just brings up like a big kind of fat, burly, like American dude who's like, I don't even know what. So every time somebody calls him Frank, I just have this like image in my head. I'm like, that's not funny.
I'm sure, guys, you can probably relate to this, but depending on the neighborhood, the street that you grew up in back in the 70s and 80s, my street, or that little neighborhood of Rosendale that I grew up in, which was close to the Hyde Park side, was either Greek or full of Italians from like Naples or Avellino. So the Italians on my street were basically the majority of my friends, and they're the ones that pretty much adopted the name Frank for me because it was easier for them.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Italians that are Frank.
Oh, those macaronaves. How
I love it.
Yeah, that's another word from Mike Cubato. Shout out to Arthur. He has the best one-liners. Macaronaves are Italians. Old Greek yayaves, the ones that typically dance in a wedding, the ones that always complain about their lower back, but somehow they can dance 5 hours straight at a wedding with their shoes off, like they just throw the heels. He calls them patrides. It's it's the best description of these Fies that I've ever heard. But he's like, "Hey, look at the Patrida. Jorevi, she's unstoppable." And I'm like, "That's the best description. He's just got the best one-liners."
Love it.
Shout out to Thanasi Venetis for the one.
Yes, Thanasi. All right, so you gave us a glimpse of your early life, right? So I'm going to ask you what led you down your career path, but for the audience, if they don't know, can you just tell us what you are doing now and then what led you to that?
Yeah, of course. So I own a digital marketing agency called realtop.com. And so my agency helps, businesses that are scaling be able to access a digital marketing department at a fraction of a cost. So, a big corporation, which you've been part of, Adi, when they need the search engine optimization guy, they hire the SEO guy, they hire the email guy, they hire the Google ads guy, the Google nerd. Yeah. A lot of the companies that are under really a couple hundred employees, it just doesn't make financial sense for them to. So they'll hire us. And we're a team of 7 full-time digital marketers, and they'll get us each on a fractional basis. So we're a digital marketing agency, and we help these companies that are scaling get to the point where, God willing, they actually don't need us anymore. They're so massive that they can hire an in-house team. So, right when they pass the point of infancy and they're in scaling mode, they hire us, and we help them, blow up their business online, God willing.
I love this because we've had so many guests from so many walks of life, but this is the guest, Foti, that speaks my language. This is the guy who knows my pain whenever I talk to you and complain to you about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, like every acronym, like all the digital marketing acronyms that your family doesn't want to hear, your friends don't want to hear, but I want to hear you, Adi. I want to hear your pain.
Well, look, and, Nick, I don't want to put you on the spot because we're recording live right here. But when you're ready to add the 8th full timer, you call me, please, okay? Because
100%.
because, you know, 40 is just not enough to keep me busy. So maybe you could.
You don't need to sleep.
I guess not. But I mean, that is amazing because you said that there's so many businesses that are at a point where it's not quite big enough to really like invest money in like a full timer, but everybody needs this work. Even if you don't think you need it, you need it. Oh, yeah. That's the thing that I've learned over the years. So many people are like, so like you'll give them a price list, right? And they'll be like, oh, my nephew could do it. Honestly, if you do it right, your nephew's not going to be doing it. If you do it right, you need people who know what they're talking about. You need people who understand it. And my God, it is a huge difference in your business. Take it from me, who's been doing this stuff for 20 plus years. It is a very essential part of business, especially in today's world.
Yeah, it's definitely an essential, and we realized this when COVID happened and people couldn't walk into retail locations, they couldn't go to their conventions and their networking, and that's about when the company started, when we formalized an agency, like, hey, we're going to do this all day long. This is our business, and all of a sudden, everyone went into red alert mode. That didn't care about their websites. They were like, social media, no one does business on that. Google, what's this Google? You know, you hear from Greeks, black isn't enough this, you know what I mean? And everyone poo-pooed it, and all of a sudden they're like, holy smokes, the only way we can get clients is this right now. And there was this flood of people that were calling me just because they knew, I built my business on this stuff. And they're like, oh, shoot, hey, can you help me? I'm in a pinch. I'm screwed. And by then, I don't want to say it's too late, but this whole process of building an online brand, doesn't take days or weeks or even months. It really could take years. So, too late.
Especially to get to that like organic, you could have an ad, for example, posted, on Google's front page if you pay enough money. But what you really want is the organic top of Google, and that there's no amount of money in the world that is going to get you there. It's time, it's proper, proper procedure, proper everything to get you there. That's a lot. That, in my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, that's what a lot of people don't understand. They're like, I'm paying you so much money. Why aren't I up there? To get there organically, it takes time. It takes time. You have to do things well. You have to consistently do things. You have to constantly do things. It's tough.
And you got to think, people have been doing it. People did it before you. So if you're in a marketplace, if you're doing business in a particular zip code and you just showed up to the party, there's another 5 companies that have been there for 15 years doing all the right things. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to be number one organically. Well, you're going to have to put in the sweat. You're going to have to put in the investment, the content, the copy, the link building, the social stuff, the PR, and when you do, your business is going to have a value beyond just what you pay in ads, because all of a sudden, you're getting traffic for nothing. You're going to have a different multiplier when you go to sell your business, because your business brings in leads or brings in sales without you spending a dollar in ads. So there's something to it, but you got to be a little patient, especially for those organic rankings.
Well, can I any potential customers of Nikitas out there, if you're watching and listening, I'm going to say something that I hopefully will sell you on hiring somebody like Nikita. So the last company I worked for, we did all sorts of, this is a huge company, not a small business, but let me just explain how they got to be a huge company. So they did all their little, calculations to figure out what a client is worth, right? So a client for them was worth approximately $15,000. That's the number they came up with. One client on average is worth $15,000. So I used to have a budget of $2 million a year to bring clients in, strictly through Google. Strictly, that's it. I wasn't doing anything else, just Google. And I would bring, from the $2 million, on average, I was bringing in between 4 and 5 million in clients. So
That's awesome.
When I tell people they were spending $2 million on Google ads, they're like, "What are you crazy? I would never do that." If you're making $5 million, yeah, you would totally spend $2 million or $2,000 to bring in $5,000 or, $20,000 to bring $50,000, whatever it is. You could do those numbers and you could bring in, an excess of money if you're doing it right, or if they hire somebody who knows what they're doing, like you.
It's funny so many business owners actually can't get their heads wrapped around that, but they will take $1,000 and take the chance at making a multiple of that at the casino, right? This drives me crazy, right? You will take that chance, but you can put $1,000 into marketing and it gives you, forget the 4-to-1 and the 10-to-1, forget that. Let's say you just get the Google average, which is 2-to-1. You put $1,000 into this magic box, into this kuti, right? and like somehow the next day it spits out 2. You're like, whoa. I just got back my $1,000. I got an extra 1,000 that I can play with. And you do it again, and there's 2 more. And then you reinvest the 2, and then you're at 4, and the 4 goes to 8. So it's free money when you get it right, and you can scale very quickly. I mean, I've been to the point where I was spending $150,000 a month on Google ads for my own business before I started the agency. And I remember I got invited into Google, the office in Cambridge, and my reps, they were like, "Come in, we're going to have lunch." And they took me around Google and we sat in a conference room and they said, "What can I do for you?" And the conversation I had was, "Hey guys, I want to spend $200,000 a month with you guys on ads, but I can't seem to do it. Can you help me spend $200,000?" And they really weren't having conversations like that with most business owners. But I knew, I'm dropping $150,000 right now. That equates to about 1,500 new customers per month. My goal is to get to 2,000 customers per month. Can you help me place the ads where I'm going to get where I'm going to hit that cost per acquisition goal? And it's actually funny because when I had that conversation, they actually turned me down and they said, "We actually can't invent more searches right now for you. Whoa. So you're, at the price you're willing to pay per customer, we can't get you any more customers. Like, you've maxed out the amount you could spend with us. Maybe we should look at some alternative types of campaigns." But that's the mentality that you want to have when you go into this. Like, if you can get a return on investment, just go hard. It's free money at that point.
Yeah.
And as the outsider listening to the both of you guys talk about this great, intense approach to marketing, the money that you guys are discussing for small businesses, how much of that money do they, as small businesses, burn in other ways that just doesn't get them anywhere? And
sure.
And they continue to spend the money in these other mediums because that's what they're used to and that's their comfort zone. But how do you get them to kind of like understand that, those days are over?
I'm going to say something, Nikita, and you correct me, but I bet you the biggest challenge is not having an active customer make a good return on their investment, but it's getting the customer to understand that you have to spend this money to do like these things, because, you deal with a lot of small business, right? So I'm sure that mentality, man, it's a tough nut to crack, right?
It's total psychology, right? If I look at my last 100 clients and I see those that are the most successful, there's like this common theme. They're the ones that just get that concept. They just understand the concept that marketing is an investment and not an expense. And they're just like, if they have money in their pocket, it's like the money is burning a hole in their pocket if their money is not giving birth to more money, versus the guy that's not winning. He's holding on to that dollar, and that dollar is losing value anyway. And he, putting money into marketing, period. Any marketing is an expense, and they're like scared of it. And maybe they've gotten burnt and they put some money into some marketing channels that haven't worked out. And I get that. And they've got a little trauma. Starting a business from scratch really can be a scary thing. And maybe they've got a little trauma. I get that. I've been there many times. But you got to get over that once you get profitable, or else you're toast. But
what you're saying, listen, everybody out there who has a small business and you're scared to spend that money on marketing, digital marketing, search and optimization, the whole 9 yards, just look at the big boys. The big boys are spending millions and millions. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. Why are they spending so much money? Because they're making it. So scale it down to your business size. If you have a budget of, $10 to $100,000 to $1 million, like you need to put your money in this area.
I remember, I'll add to that. This is 20 years ago. I had a lot of friends in the pizza business. Greeks, everyone owned pizzerias in New England. Like that's the big industry. Okay. It's somewhere in restaurants, somewhere in construction, but the core business was pizzerias. Our ethnicity dominates the pizza industry in New England. And you saw the guy that was doing $5,000 a week, okay, versus the guy that was doing $20,000 a week. If you really peel the onion back, there were two things that were the major differences in those businesses. It wasn't the bread. Everyone had Panadosi or Quinzani's. I still remember going to Quinzani's at 5 a.m. It wasn't the steak and cheese. It wasn't the product. Everyone's getting the same stuff from Costa's Provisions and Disco and Natco. Yeah, we're all buying the same stuff. What was the difference? The first difference was always location, and location, AKA they were in a location that was marketable because the amount of traffic, right? That's marketing in itself, location, location, location. And the second thing before the internet was menus. You saw the guys that were making a killing were spending $2,000 a month on menus. And they would tell you, yeah, I do menus. What is this menus? They would send mailers of menus. And when you would hear this amount of money for some of the old school Greeks, like my dad's generation, they'd be like, $2,000 on menus. Are you crazy? You're throwing that money away. It's funny, though, because they'd spend it on an S-Class Mercedes, but they wouldn't spend it on their business to bring it from 5 to 20 because they were scared of that expense. But the guys that were winning 20 years ago had the same mentality as the guys that are winning right now. And, some of these professional industries, we're all doing the same thing. Entrepreneurship hasn't changed. Whether you're a restaurant, you own a consultancy, you're in construction, the fundamentals haven't changed. The guys that are winning are investing, period.
Yeah,
well said.
I appreciate I appreciate Nick so much because it's something that I've been struggling with for so many years. When I actually worked for a company and this was my job, I didn't have to deal with all that. But every other aspect of my life, I had to deal with exactly what you were talking about. And you understand, exactly what it was. And you're right. If they could just wrap their heads around this money that you're spending is going to bring in more money. Just wrap your head around that because it's true. It's the world we live in. It's not changing. If anything, it's going to get more detailed and more of a pain in the ass for the average business owner. So you need somebody who knows what they're doing. If you're big enough to hire an in-house guy, great, good for you, do it. But if you're not, to get there, you need somebody like Nikitas. So it's a no-brainer.
If we can let the audience feel a little reassured, I mean, Nikita has plenty of success that we can discuss of the fact that he's been awarded multiple times from Inc. magazine, which I've been a big fan of Inc. magazine over the years. Congratulations to those awards that have been given to those that really shine in their respected fields for what you're doing. You've, from what I understand, you've recovered millions of dollars in revenue for clients of yours. And also the fact that you've acquired over 100,000 clients is beyond anything I can imagine as far as how proven you are in what you do. So if that's not reassuring, I don't know what is then.
Yeah, thanks, Foti. And to elaborate on that, the 100,000 plus clients was not in the marketing agency. I learned marketing by owning my own company that we grew that got to the Inc. 5000 and is now, I still own that company. It's a company called Key Credit that helps people with credit issues. And the group actually just surpassed 104,000 total clients since the inception of that company. I think back in 2008 when we started it.
That's an insane number. That's an insane number.
Yeah, I sometimes think about that and I'm like, oh, this has to be a mistake. I checked the Excel spreadsheet. I'm like, 104,000. This must be something. And actually, when right before we got to 100,000, I actually had never calculated the total. And I was just in this Excel spreadsheet where we track all of the, the client acquisitions since '08. We've literally been running this Excel spreadsheet, very primitive spreadsheet since '08. And I was like, oh, what'll happen if I just highlight the whole column? And it was like 98,900. And I was like, whoa, it's like, this can't be right. So,
well, to go on that note, when I read your bio, I'm like, oh my laka. I have to check his stats over here. Who has 100,000 clients? He has to correct that. And
I wish I still had them, all of them at once. It would be quite the, I'd probably be in Monaco or something.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, that number is so big. Like the fact that you had that many, is the proof in the pudding right there. The proof in the pudding that your company and yourself know what you're doing, are doing a good job, and are proven. It's a proven track record.
Yeah, the stuff we sell to Adi and Foti, the stuff we sell as a marketing agency, I'll tell a client or a prospective client, hey, we just did your Google forecast for ads. Let's say it's a PPC campaign. And I'll tell them, hey, if you spend $50,000 over the course of the next 12 months, you're projected to get, this many impressions, this many clicks, this many conversions. If you convert those leads at a rate of 15%, you'll get this many customers. Each customer is worth this much. This is your return on investment. When I say this, I'm like, yeah, I did this. We spent our own money. As a little tiny business, we had 2 desks more than a decade ago. It was myself and my sister in a little office in Mattapan. We had no money and nothing. And we got to the point where we did this thing. I'm telling you to do this, but we did it ourselves. So we're not just, we'll tell people, hey, we're business owners first. Before we're marketers, we became marketers because we wanted to promote our own business to make an income, to take care of our families.
That's
and they're like, oh, okay, wow, you did this yourself. And I'll show them my own campaigns. They'll say, hey, do that. That's how much I spent yesterday. Here's my, I spent $3,000 yesterday and it produced this much in revenue. So you should do this too. Here you go. Here's my testimonial. I'll show them on my phone. Barta.
That's the American dream right there. You are living the American dream. Exactly how you said it. You started off with 2 desks, you and your sister. It's classic.
Yeah, my sister.
And now you're sitting on top of 2 companies with, these huge numbers that you're doing.
I'm sure, Nikita, as our audience is listening to you, I'm sure there's those that are thinking, is there specific industries that you offer the services for any industry that's for those that might have interest in what you're saying?
It's usually service businesses. We have a couple of clients we help with e-commerce, but 95% of what we do is services. So we work with law firms, construction companies, home services. We even have a client that builds and sells robots to Tesla. It's so random. We've worked with clients as big as Franklin Sports and as small as a 2-person law firm. So it's mostly professional services that we work with.
That's awesome.
Anything new in the pipeline for Nikita?
Well, I'd say the new thing in the pipeline, and I'm sure you guys are messing with this stuff too, but right now, it's all the rage. It's all AI right now. Mm-hmm. So right now we've just been, I would say, we do a weekly meeting with our team here at the agency, and we do this thing called labs, right? And I'll ask every person on the team, hey, what do you got in the lab, or what do you have for the lab? And the lab is just things that we test out. And it seems everything we're testing right now, every new thing is AI related. Mm-hmm. So whether it's writing, rewriting copy, creating scripts, AI helping our media. I mean, we tested a tool. I had someone ask me the other day, Nikita, you just dropped 15 social media posts in 3 days. How did you do that? Well, I'll tell you, we have 2 video editors on the team, but they're also using AI. There was no way we were able to produce that much content in the past so quickly. So there's a tool that we just started using, Opus Clip, and I could take a 30-minute long conversation, upload it to this site, and all of a sudden it's chopping it up into 20 Instagram reels slash TikToks slash shorts, giving me titles, giving me captions. So AI is allowing each of our team members to amplify their output in an insane way. It's almost scary how good it is right now.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I used to bitch and moan to Footy like I got too much shit going on. We have 8, 9 apps. We have whatever amount of websites. I'm the only person doing this stuff. I'm marketing it. I'm digital this. I'm the designer, the developer. And now I run everything through AI. I do copy through AI. I make videos through AI. The voice is through AI. Everything is through AI. And I'm like, oh, cool. So this makes my life a little bit easier.
It's phenomenal, especially in our world, Adi. There's like a fear of it. Oh my God, it's going to take over all of our jobs. No, the only thing that seems to be happening is it's amplifying all of our output. It's amplifying the quality of all of our output. And if you go on social media and you look at the TikTok feed right now versus 6 months ago, the quality of the feed is 1,000 times better. So everyone's just leveled up. And the cool thing, the most badass part about this whole thing is the barrier of entry for all these tools is so low that almost everyone has access to this stuff for almost no money. So all of a sudden, like these young entrepreneurs want to get into business. They want to produce content. They want to do all these things that in the past, you have to go to the big agency. You have to hire the very expensive video guy. Like there were these high barriers of entry that made it very difficult for the little guy. Now the little guy can show up and they can compete with this huge media company. And it's awesome. Bring it on. Let the little guy come up a little bit. Come on, man. Let's go.
Can I give you a suggestion of another like it falls within your realm, but it's not something you're doing. But I'm going to suggest it to you. Take it or leave it, whatever you like. Using AI to enhance resumes and stuff like that, because when people apply now, an AI algorithm is the first to sift through the resumes. And if the AI selects that resume, then the human looks at it. And that's after like thousands of resumes are like gone and out the door. That could be another leg of your business. I'm just saying, like, if you guys have the AI experience and knowledge, maybe you could even like venture into something like that.
Imagine if you could have AI rewrite a resume and create some sort of code that talks to the AI reading the resume. That's like, hire me. It's me, friend. And it's like hidden in plain sight in just how it's written, like just total CIA spy code.
All right, we're gonna make a movie. We're gonna make a movie on this. We're gonna have AI write the script.
Well,
but you know what AI can't do?
These nerds. How'd you get stuck with us like these nerds? Are you just stuck with us?
I'm gonna tell you something AI can't do. I tried to use AI to make Foti more likable, and it couldn't figure it out. There's no algorithm, so it completely failed.
The only thing that makes me likable is this.
That's what I was gonna say. You're so. You know what you are, Foti? You're just cool. Like you just rolled up. You got the Krasaki. Like you can't replicate. Look at a nerd over here. I got these Starship Trooper headphones talking about.
Regardless, what else? The fact number one, I'm proud of you for two reasons. One is because you're from Rosendale. Two is because you're Kalimnian, and we have
Kalimnian. What's going on here, Foti? Another Kalimnian.
Right, but besides that, we talk about this. There's something about us as Greeks growing up in Boston. I think we have this little bit of an edge about us when it comes to the rest of the Greeks around the country, because we always we're very territorial. We like to represent, and we like to hold those standards of where we come from. And I think that the fact that we're so accomplished as individuals, but also when it comes to our location of Boston, because I think Boston, who's been, identified as the Athens of America, but beyond that, the fact
the universe,
right? The fact that so many things come out of Boston globally, and the fact that we are part of it, I'm proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
Good things. I like to raise the glass to individuals like yourself, because there's more of us that need to know about what you're doing. There's more of us that need to actually listen to you, not just know what you're doing, because I think that what you provide is priceless, regardless of what people pay for. So having said that, cheers, brother.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks. I wish I had a wine glass now. Damn. You guys should have prepped me on that one. I would have.
You're having a conversation with Fote and you don't have wine in your hand? What's going on?
Such a mistake.
So Nikita, for those that are listening to this episode, and it's not going to be the last time you're on it, because we're going to have multiple series of discussions, table talk, that we'd love to bring you on as a panel of someone that represents your industry, to have conversations that I think would resonate with today's times that we live in. But how can those that are listening find out more about you and the company that you run?
Yeah, if you want to connect with me, you can actually go to Instagram and just type in Nikitas.com. So Nikitas, Nikitas.com. Or you can actually go to Nikitas.com. Random thing. I did buy the domain a few years ago. It was kind of a gag, but someone was willing to sell it. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I just owned my first name online? So you can go to Nikitas.com, or you can check out our company. The agency's realtop.com. You could just Google Realtop Digital Marketing or Realtop Boston, and we'll pop up on Google. And, if you need any help with your business, fill in a form, shoot me a DM, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. And, I'm happy to help in any way, even if you don't need our services necessarily. If there's something I can do to help, it would be a big blessing for me to be able to contribute.
And I'm going to jump in once more, and I'm going to say, as somebody who's been in this industry for over 20 years, as somebody who's worked from the lowest startup to the Fortune 500 realm, do not fear the money that you spend on digital marketing. Do not fear it, because digital marketing done right will bring you money, will make your business bigger and better. If you do it yourself, God bless you, and maybe you'll succeed, maybe you won't, but that's where the scariness is. But you hire people who know what they're doing, it's a no-brainer. Do it. And this guy right here has the track record. He has a proven, the proven track record. So that's it. Like, if you need this kind of work, call him, contact him, get in touch with his company, because it's I say it so many times, it's a no-brainer. Like, you need this. Your company cannot get bigger in this day and age without this service.
Yeah, the running joke is there are about a couple hundred things you can screw up in running your own marketing and cost you money. I've already made all those screw ups with my own money for you, so I can help you avoid all 200 of those screw ups. I promise.
Okay.
I will show you receipts. I will show you the receipts of every screw up.
Wow. Nikita, thank you so much, man, for taking the time with us. Foti, unless you object, we got to get him back on and do like some sort of like series of stuff that is involved in digital marketing, just because I'm passionate about it. This is what he does.
Yeah, let's do it.
And the fact that he's going to bring me on as the 8th employee. I mean, he has an in now, automatic in.
I already have a special title for you too, Adi. You're the head of branding. No, really. All joking aside, one thing I appreciate about like what you guys did, especially with Greek Boston, right? It's one thing to put money into Google and have it, you put a dollar in and it spits out two, and there's something said about that, right? And that's just basic direct marketing. It's another thing to build a brand, and to build a brand that people remember 20 years later, that people will still Google. They will still Google the brand. It's one thing for you to provide a service. I'm a plumber and I'm doing business in Somerville, and someone Google searches, I need a plumber. It's another thing for someone to search the name of your company because your brand is so strong. And one thing I love about you guys, and one thing I really admire, and I wanted to mention this, is the fact that you guys know how to build brands, and it's not talked about enough. And it goes beyond just the ads and the cost per acquisition and the lifetime value and a blah blah blah. Like that's a certain magic that I could tell you, hanging around with a bunch of nerds like me the last decade or so, no one's talking about it. They're all just cost per click. They're all talking about every freaking acronym known to man, but most of them have never built a brand. And I just want to say, thanks for like being that trailblazer in our community, how important brand building is. And it's something I actually, I use you guys as an example to clients like, hey, we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to have all these KPIs and all these fancy spreadsheets, and we're going to, show you all these return on investment. But there's a halo effect in everything we do, which is your brand. And when we start seeing people just looking for your company's name online, that's when we know we're doing something special. And like, I think you guys know how to do that. And it's awesome.
Thank you, brother.
We appreciate that, man. We appreciate that very much, especially coming from somebody like you who actually understands and knows the business. Thank you. Cheers again.
Damn it. One for the homies. I'll just do it.
Nikita, this was a great pleasure for us. Foti, before I sign us off,
Nikita, again, just very inspiring. As we mentioned, you're an icon in our community in Boston. Definitely going to have you back very shortly. We're going to be bugging you about, spending more time with us. So, just be aware. Maybe we're going to see you out again. It was great to see you the other night in a social setting in person, which hasn't happened in a long time.
I was so sleepy. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I get it. But this was great. So thank you very much, Nikita. Much more success to you. And I'm sure that you'll be thinking about us after this episode is over.
100%. Yeah.
Why does it sound so creepy, Foti?
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be dreaming about us after this podcast. What? I will be.
I'm sure you'll be thinking of me later. Nikita, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time out. Thanks everybody out there for watching and listening. Everything that Nikita does will be in the notes of the podcast and on the listings on everywhere we post this. And you could contact him. If you have a small business, contact him. My guarantee is on it. You won't have, you will not regret it. You will grow your business. So thank you so much again, Nikita. Thank you, Foti. Thanks everybody out there for watching and listening. And we will see you next time.